Hello, my name is Alex, and I will be starting a little series for YouTube called So Essentially, and it's going to be a mini series on the Eden editor and how to create a basic mission for yourself or a team, but can be played in single player and multiplayer. So first thing first, we're going to go to the editor, and then we'll have the map selection. We'll be doing all of this without any mod. And so we're going to go on Stratus as an example. And then right off the bat, it spawns your camera at a random location on the map. So it's up to you to start there or go anywhere else on your map. To move the camera very quickly, you can use the scroll wheel button to move it around, and wherever I put it, it's going to bring me to that location on the map. You can also right click and then press go here, and then it will do the same thing. So let's say we want to start a mission in Camp Tempest. First thing that I usually do when I start creating a mission is I'll take care of all my settings first, all the mission attributes and everything else that I want to. So I'll go up to my tools bar, attributes, and then I'll go to environment. Since I like to be immersive and everything, I'll usually put it to the day's date. So what day are we now? We're the 6th of August. Perfect. And then let's say I want to do it early in the morning with a nice sky coming up, sun coming up, and then sorry, let's go back in there. In the environment tab, you also have some weather forecast options if you want to have changes happen at which interval. The change basically doesn't mean that in 30 minutes it's gonna drastically change. It means that every 30 minutes there's going to be a ping on the server for a small change. It's usually a very gradual change. So every 30 minutes there's going to be added clouds, added rain factors, and so on and so forth. Maybe fog will start creeping in, and all of that will be taking effect from what you put in the rest of the options here. Overcast. So as you can see right now, we have pretty clear skies and a few clouds. We can make that worse. We can make that better. That's up to you. If I were to up it to about 60%, now we have much more clouds, and we can have it to almost entirely clouds. No sky is visible, and then that will usually bring the rain. Or we can go back to completely sky, amazing with even the moon. And to do what I just did to hide the menu, press the backspace on the keyboard. Now going back to environment, um, depending on the mission I'm trying to do, this will always be different. I'm just going to leave that to default settings. Once that is done, I'll go to multiplayer, and then this is where I'll start fiddling with all my my multiplayer options. Game type. Most of the time, I do cooperative mission. Note that what you put in there doesn't affect how the game starts or is played. It's just a small tag that will appear on the server when you're looking around and the server is playing your mission. It's gonna say that the mission currently being played is for instance, survival mission or a sector control mission or a sandbox mission or any of that. And if you play on public servers, you will notice There's quite a lot of Zeus servers, warlords, and so on. Combat patrols usually on Malden, and that's just how they make it appear in the server browser, which mission they're playing. So let's just go for co-op right now. Minimum player. Note that this won't affect again if the mission starts or not. This is just a again for the server browser to be able to have filters when you're looking for something in particular. And so minimum players, let's say the mission requires 2 people to play it, and then max, let's say 10. Summary, again, this is a small paragraph that will show under the mission name when people are in the lobby and selecting their slots for the mission. So you could type a cooperative mission. And then for the rest of the options, we will come back to them as we build our mission, and you will understand what each of these does. So once that is done, then this is where I start building my mission. So on the right tab, by default, you'll be on Objects and Blue 4. So these are 2 different levels in terms of menus. So you have from 1 to 6, you have objects. So these are single individual objects that you can put down. They can be characters like these, or they can be objects in the props we'll see. Blue 4, then you have the Op4 side here, you have the independent side. For the independent side, you'll have all of these as well. Civilians. And then props is usually where you'll find your objects, your structures. Could be to the simplest thing as a runway marker. And then in composition, you will see groups. So it's going to be, it could be again players units or objects themselves. And there will usually be compositions groups. So this is an easy way to spawn multiple things at the same time. It depending on what you're trying to achieve, it can save some time or it could make it longer. So let's say I want to spawn 4 guys. I can just click on a fire team, and here we go. I got 4 units down, and then I will delete those. And for props, for physical objects, there are stuff like this, checkpoints, small checkpoints. You can see it gives you a preview of the amount of objects, and then you can just click it and it puts it down for you. And then holding shift and clicking the left button on your mouse, you'll be able to move it around to face the direction you want and put it either side of the road as such, and press backspace to look at it in a clear view. And so we have a little checkpoint here. And then you also have camps, so I could add like a bunch of little things. This is also available in the Zeus interface when trying to make a mission. I use these quite a bit in my own missions when I'm Zeusing, or even when I'm doing an editor mission like this. What I'll do is I'll go into a location where I want the enemy force to be, and then I'll cut time by simply putting down one of these, and puff, I can put a fire team, and here we go. I have some enemies. Now going back to our camp Tempest, we will start by putting the essential for your mission. Now if you're playing by yourself or in a group, there are 2 different ways you can do it. You can individually place the units that you want to play with. So let's say I want to have somebody as an officer, I want to have somebody as a marksman. You can see it draws a line right away. it's going to group it with the first unit that you put down when you're close enough to it. If you go far enough, it will snap out, and then I can put another unit in a different group. Now, if I want all these units to play together, what I'm going to do is I can hold Control, drag with my left click into the unit, and it's going to have grouped it. So once all of your units are grouped together, you now have a group. Now by default, the first unit you put down on your mission will have this little red circle. This means it's the player unit. So that means that if I were to play scenario here in single player, it would spawn me as that unit, and all of these would be AIs. Now, if I wanted to make all of these other units also playable characters for my friends when I'm playing on the server, then I would right-click, go to Attributes, and then in Object Control, Playable, and tick that. And then OK, and now you can see it's now gone pink. And then I can do the same for all the other units, or I could do as a group, select all of them, go to Attributes, and then you're going to see some options are going to be cleared because the positions for each are different. And then here I can do playable, and all of a sudden all the units are now playable. So you have your set of units, you have a small checkpoint, and you have an enemy location far away. You are set. You have the most basic mission that you can possibly make. Next thing that you could potentially do is go down to Blue 4, go to cars, or if you want an APC or a helicopter, maybe a plane, but we're not on a runway, we're not an airport, so we couldn't take off here. But I could select a hummingbird and put it down. Now by default, if you just go in this tab here and spawn a hummingbird, it will spawn it with characters inside. Now those characters, like you know, are not going to be playable, they're going to be AIs. However, at the bottom of your menu there is a place vehicle with crew, and it's ticked, so that's why it spawned them with it. Now another thing that I can do is toggle the reverse action to this. I can either unclick it, and now when I spawn something, it spawns it without those AIs, or I can leave it clicked if I were to put multiple objects and I want to do faster. And for doing this, the hotkey is the Alt key on your keyboard. Alt will basically alternate the option, and you can now spawn an empty little hummingbird that you will be able to jump in your mission. Another thing you can do as well is spawn yourself a car, and doing the same thing, or here, an APC, and then again press hold Alt while clicking, and you now have an APC. Then again, using the shift and left click drag, you'll be able to select which direction to put it. So now you have a basic setup. You can press Control Shift S to save your mission. I recommend you save your mission in the MP mission folder, as it will be available for you to play in the multiplayer server host. By default, binarize the scenario file might be ticked. I strongly advise you do not binarize the scenario file in case you're working on a mission with a friend. You're passing the mission folder from one computer to another, and with a binarized scenario file, it might break along the transition. It might be hard to open for your friend, and I will show you at a later time how to mess with the mission SQM in itself. So binarize the scenario file off, and file name, I will call it simple underscore mission. Yes. And underscore instead of spaces, because spaces will create those weird alternative words for it, which is percentage 20 or 2 percentage something. So I usually do underscore, and that way we're safe. Save, and you now have a simple mission. And if I were to play scenario, as you can see, it spawned me as the officer, and I have all of my my stuff that I put down.